Knicks versus Pacers. This is going to be a very interesting series. I'll be interested to see what type of adjustments both of these coaches are going to make on both teams and Rick Carlisle and Thibodeau, just to see what they come up with. I think every game is going to be an interesting counter. So this will be a very competitive series, I believe. But picking who's going to win is going to be a difficult decision on my part. I'm just going to go over some things about both teams. Right now, Brunson is playing on a ridiculously high level for the Knicks. His playoff numbers are 35.5 points per game, 9 assists, and 2.8 turnovers, which is amazing. I look at his field goal percentage, which is 42, which is not good at all, but I don't really take it that seriously, only because he played poorly the first like 2 or 3 games of that series. I think the first two games of the Sixers series, he was shooting horribly, but the last 4 games, he's been amazing. So he's been on fire the last 4 games. He's been on a torrid pace, just ridiculous stuff he's doing. And then you look at the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton had a very quiet offensive scoring series against the Bucks. 16 points on 43 overall from the field, 29 for 3. Those are way well below his regular season numbers. And it's kind of a little bit disturbing, I would say, because you want your star players to actually be better during the playoffs than they were during the regular season, and he's been actually worse in that regard. Granted, his playmaking has been great in the sense he's averaging 9.3 assists per game, and he's getting only 2.7 turnovers, so assist to turnover ratio isn't bad for Tyrese Halliburton. That's one thing I would give him. And the other thing I would say is that for the Pacers, Pascal Siakam is still putting up great numbers like he did during the regular season. His playoff numbers are nearly identical to his regular season numbers. So that's a promising sign for the Pacers that he hasn't dropped off during the playoffs. He's maintaining his good regular season numbers. So that gives you some hope as a Pacers fan. You really just want to hope that Tyrese Halliburton is his regular season self. If he is, it helps them out tremendously. The rest of the Pacers, they're playing really good as a team. Miles Turner, Obi Toppin are slightly better during this playoff run than they were during the regular season. I think that's the same with their other guys like Nesmith and Nembhard. So they have that going for themselves. They're also the number one team in scoring during the regular season. So the Knicks are going to have their hands full. I look at just the Knicks roster. They're banged up. They're beat up. They have lost guys to injuries during the regular season, and now losing Bogdanovich, I think, is a huge blow for their bench. Granted, he wasn't putting up great numbers. He was only averaging 6 points a game during this playoff run, but I still think he was very important because teams had a lot of respect for him as an offensive player, that even when he was struggling, he was a good decoy out there. And now that's just one less capable player they have that could score points off the bench. You look at their bench now, and they have to rely heavily on McBride to give them points off the bench. That's not a great situation to be in. Graham McBride is playing great during these playoffs, but he's been inconsistent in the past, so you don't know when he's going to get into a cold streak or have a drought or just struggle from the field. So I think that's very concerning because outside of McBride, there's no one on the Knicks bench that can score. Mitchell Robinson, he's a great defensive player, but he's a terrible offensive player. He's only getting you 3 points off the bench in these playoffs. Precious Achua, same deal, only 2.5 points off the bench. I really do believe the Knicks are going to need some other guy off their bench to step up to help McBride. They're going to need another guy capable of getting them at least 9 or 10 points. I don't know who that guy can be in this series. I don't think they have that guy. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust this. Now, just them defending the Pacers, that's very interesting because I think their perimeter players are about roughly the same size as the Pacers. The Pacers are not a very tall team perimeter-wise when you look at the Nembhard and Nesmith. I think Nesmith is only like a 6'5" small forward, and the Knicks have Josh Hart playing their three at 6'4". And then you look at Nembhard, he's like 6'4". Vincenzo's like 6'4". So really the biggest height discrepancy is between Halliburton and Brunson. The only reason I bring this up is like it shows you how they're going to match up defensively. The question on the Knicks is who do they put on Tyrese Halliburton to slow him down? Do you have DiVincenzo take a crack at it? Do you have Josh Hart? How do you scheme against him to slow him down and force him into just being a terrible facilitator, getting more turnovers, and just shutting him down offensively? Just that's what I would wonder. OG is a great perimeter defender, but in the series you have no choice to play him at power forward. Obviously, due to them not having Julius, he's going to have to guard Siakam and match up with him, which will be interesting. Can OG slow down Siakam, which would be big for the Knicks? I think that's something they have to look at. And can they slow down Miles Turner with their two-headed monster in Hartenstein and Mitch Robinson? I think they could slow him down with those two guys. I think that'll be crucial. But I think Siakam is really the X factor here and whether or not they can slow him down. So they have to focus on that. And it also comes down to the bench. I strongly believe that, when it comes to the Knicks. Now, with the Pacers, their focus really can be geared against Brunson, I believe. Brunson is a great player, but the Knicks are just him and a bunch of role players. It'll be interesting to see what defensive schemes Carlisle tries to come up with to stop Jalen Brunson, or does he target the rest of the Knicks role players? So I don't know how they're going to do that, who they're going to have check him. Are they going to have Nembhard? Are they going to have Nesmith? Are they going to have Halliburton? And just that'll be interesting. So I think the series is going to be very close to call. But I'm going to say the Pacers are going to win this series. I'm going to have them winning the series in 6 because I just feel their depth is going to edge them out against the Knicks. They have a little bit more depth, and their scoring is going to just be too much for them to slow down throughout a 7-game series defensively. I see the Pacers winning this series in, I'm going to say 6 games. So the Pacers will beat the Knicks in 6 games.